talking about you now, live on Udicci.TV. Yes, Dawn, I was talking about you. Anyways, welcome to Udicci.TV updates. My name is Chuck Lavecchi. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Tim Massline behind the board tonight. No camera on him. We could turn that around. You know, I kind of feel like we're getting a lot of feedback on this mic here. Not feedback, just a little bit loud. How's that sound? That sounds a little bit better from my end. How's it sound where you guys are? We're getting a thumbs up from the people in the audience. We got a thumbs up. We're ready to go. So, hey, welcome to Udicci.TV. Obviously, this is our regular Thursday night lineup. The past few weeks have been a little hairy trying to figure out what's going on, but basically the guys from Real Talk have been on vacation, so we thought we'd take a couple weeks off too to kind of take a break and get some rest and relaxation. That happens. We've been running hard and trying to get things done, but good news is on the way. Still a lot of struggles happening. Really trying to figure out how to keep the lights on and keep the forward momentum going, but here's what I do know. There's a lot of good things happening in Rochester. There's a lot of good people trying to make it happen, and for whatever reason, these struggles are much more difficult than they should be. You know, maybe it's a matter of us needing to give each other a little bit more breathing room, but even more so learning to come alongside one another. Okay, which camera are we on? We're now on camera one because we're getting serious. So, so what's going on with updates? This week we had an opportunity to go speak with Leadership Rochester, and we really want to thank Jennifer Hinton first for giving us the introduction to Joanne, who runs Rochester Leadership, and they were over at Leadership Rochester. They were over at the not St. Joe. I don't even know who they're with anymore. Hillside. They were doing a kind of a thing out there, and a number of people in the room. I'll get 40, 50 people, and we got to do an introduction that was very well received. Really starting to talk about how it is we're trying to get out on the road and how we're trying to get things done, and we really do appreciate that opportunity. So hopefully for those of you, a few of you were in there. Ronnie Dasher, thank you if you're watching, tuning in tonight. It was kind of fun to go into the audience and all right, so how many of you heard of Udicci? And one person. And it's kind of funny, right? It really is. Because, what's that, right? She'd actually been on the show, and I guess that's kind of the irony of what's going on here in Rochester, right? The big conversation in Rochester is overcoming poverty. And here we're the only organization in town that's having regularly live stream shows to actually talk about this. And yet nobody's out there like really tuning in, right? And that's okay. And I know it probably sounds sometimes like we're whining, and probably sometimes we are whining, and it's just a fact of life where we're at right now, but it was fun, because there was one of the ladies, she's like, how have you guys been doing this now for 2 years and we haven't heard about you? And it was a fair question, and the only real answer was simply this. Much like many of the other charities out there trying to do good work, most of us just don't have big marketing budgets, right? Most of us are trying to get things done on absolute bare minimum budgets, because it's a matter of heart. It's a matter of what's right. It's a matter of trying to get it done. And we're getting it done. We're beginning to see these things that are making a difference. We're seeing the connections come together. We're seeing the momentum pick up, and the powers that really see something happening, we see it happening. And that's exciting, because nothing's going to get done or changed overnight, but it will get done and it will change. The funny thing is, though, it's the sooner more people can help. Come on in. Our guest for 7 o'clock just showed up, so may I have you up a little bit early, but Brandon, Brandon, we're actually live streaming right now. This is what we do. So I'll have you up in just a little bit, and I'll take a break here. But so some great things are happening. Another update today. Actually, I think, 6:37? It's like time for us to go for our first break anyway, so I'll go get some water, and I'll get Brandon something to drink if he'd like it, and then we'll be right back. We'll talk about some of the other things that are going on in Rochester. All right, so we're back and back on two because it's really important that I was looking straight in the camera. Okay, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, this is we're just back to one, back to two, back to one, back to two. It's all good. This is our social media time where we try to have serious conversations, but it really is just meant to be fun and relationship. Because quite frankly, if we don't start building true relationships, then we're going to go nowhere either, right? I mean, that's one of the things about social media we do a great job of. Is actually finding something we disagree with and telling somebody how wrong they are. It's a great job that we have this wonderful tool that could change the entire world in social media. And what we tend to do best with it is make sure that everybody knows how wrong the other person is. It's fun because it is so easy to get like a little bit distracted. And actually that's tonight our guest Brandon, who will be on at 7. That's exactly how we met. He had shared something online and I totally read it from a different perspective. And I went about responding in one way. He's like, dude, you're clueless. And I'm like, oh, wait. Okay, wait, I gotcha. I just completely came in a different direction. But today we had an opportunity to do a pre-shoot. You'll see the show probably in about 2 weeks with Carlos Carbolata and Ebony. I can't even remember Ebony's last name now. Was it? I don't know. Ebony from the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship, which the Q program, something that RIT is doing. And I loved some of the stuff that we heard about that RIT was doing. And Ebony shared during this that, Ebony Miller? Ebony shared that, and I don't know when they started it, but they said that they started kind of a new culture in RIT. And it was going to be like a 10-year plan that was be different, like accomplish something by doing it differently. And what I really appreciated hearing today, that this Center for Urban Entrepreneurship, they really are taking a different approach, and in many ways they're aligning right in with what we found over the past 3-4 years of trying to do our market research. That the entrepreneurship is a key component for helping overcome poverty. It just is. Teaching people to produce jobs instead of simply training people to do a job, right? It's very, very different. It's one thing if we're just training our kids and we're saying go to school, learn how to read, write, and hopefully we'll get a few of you through to graduation. And when you do that, we'll put you in a job that probably is not going to pay you enough to live, and then you can go complain that you're not making enough money to live, and we'll have to figure out that problem too. Or we could begin right down at the 7th grade level where they're doing this with Q and actually start teaching them how to create jobs. Mind-boggling, right? Mind-boggling that we're actually thinking about teaching our kids from day one that instead of going in and supporting the system that's not working, that we actually help them to decide how to learn and work together and create something that's bigger than themselves and work for something that's greater for themselves, and in doing so create opportunity for others and job security and wealth and everything else that actually helps our community grow. So it was very, very encouraging, and again, 2 weeks or so you can tune into that show. Some great stuff happening over at Q, but I was very encouraged to hear that was some of the work that was going on. But one of my big takeaways from that, and it is kind of our soapbox that we jump up onto every now and then, is the importance of relationships. And the Q program, as I said, now they do some things with kids, but they actually take entrepreneurs, people like Tim and I, the small businesses that need help. And yes, they have some programs you can go through. Yes, there's some education that you can go through, but it's not just like everything else that says, come in, go to these 12 classes, and when you're done, we're going to give you a certificate that says you're good to go. Instead, their goal is to have dialogue with the entrepreneur. Their goal is to say, where are you? How can we help you? How can we connect you to the resources that help you? Because it's not, and what we know about Rochester is we have tons of resources that are already available, but the vast majority don't even know how to connect to those resources. And then very often what will happen is one person will sit there and go, well, we can help you over here. Like in the entrepreneurship idea, we can help write your business plan. And that's great. We can't get you funding. And we can't really teach you how to brand your business now that we've helped with that. We don't really understand how to create a prototype for what it is that you're doing. So, yeah, but here you've got your plan. And then the entrepreneur is left to their own accord to go, okay, now what do I do here? I've got a plan. Well, follow the plan. Well, step 1, make a prototype. How do I make a prototype? Well, that's where you've got to go out and learn how to make a prototype. I get that, but I learned here in this class that I have to make a prototype. Yes, you learned properly. You have to make a prototype. Well, how do I do that? You have to find a person, right? And it's a circle. It's a circle that happens because that particular program doesn't really know how to make a prototype. They just know the actions. They know the knowledge. They may even have the experience, but they don't necessarily have the connections and the resources. So one of the things that's very different about the Q program is to sit there and go, oh, you need a program, you need a person who does prototypes. Good news, we had a gentleman that came through a program last time. That's exactly what he does, is helps people mock up prototypes, and he knows how to get those done. Let us connect you with that other entrepreneur. And now what we're doing is we're saying, wow, entrepreneur A is being helped by entrepreneur B, and B is getting help of A, and now both of them are growing together. That's what we need to do, is be strengthening those relationships in our community. So it was very encouraging to hear that that is exactly what's going on at the Q program, and even more so, and again, I don't want to give away the entire show, but some of the other things that we've talked about, some of the other steps that we've been working toward here, it seems like those are getting ready to come together in a pretty major way. Again, I'd like to see them come together today. Is the way I'd like to see things happen is, all right, we're going to take 3 nights. We're going to put everybody in one big auditorium. We're going to have each person who's doing something, we're going to give them 15 minutes to explain what they're doing. Then over the course of 3 nights, we're all going to figure out who has to talk to who. We'll come back together in a few weeks. We'll come back together in a few weeks, and we will be organized and ready to hit the road like an army in 2 to 3 months. Right? And instead of taking 10 or 15 years to make an impact of 50% on poverty, we'll do it in 5 years and we'll cure it 100%. I mean, okay, that's pie in the sky. But let's just go 5 years and 80%, or 10 years and 80% instead of 15 and 50, right? We can get these things done if we would just start working together. And we do have these incredible tools called social media. Oh, and Udicci, but again, you got to learn more about that. All right. So let's see here. I think we're probably almost approaching, no, I don't know where we are. It's 6:47, and we're approaching a time for another kind of break. And I don't even know what we're going to be talking. You said there was something else we should be talking about. I always forget what updates are about. What's that? Oh, the Dream Center. Talk about that Dream Center. That thing's going on out in Los Angeles. So that's really relevant to Rochester. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's one in Rochester. Oh, it's not there in Rochester yet. Can we talk about that? We're going to talk about the Dream Center when we come back. Yeah. All right, the Dream Center. Did you ever think about that? Right? Anybody ever go down to Disney World? Yeah. I see a hand being raised over there. I'm kidding. I can't. No, we don't control the camera on your phone. We don't. So I don't really know if you were raising your hand. But nonetheless, have you ever been down to Epcot? And did you ever think that, and if you ever study or you went through that little whatever it is where they talk about how Epcot was Walt Disney's kind of dream utopian community, right? And that's what it started as, and obviously it's not that at all anymore, because, I mean, given the right world, I think we'd all love to live in an Epcot world, but, that's kind of why they did some of those, growing through the aeroponics and all those other kind of things. Well, that's kind of like the idea of the dream centers, right? A dream center is how should we really be living with one another, and it actually began out in Los Angeles. It's a faith-based organization that there's a long story behind it, and a number of people came in to get it working. But the long and short of it was that there was an empty hospital that was out in Los Angeles, and there was a great need for outreach for homeless, for actually medical care, drug abuse, and everything else. And through communities coming together, through a number of churches coming together, they were actually able to purchase this big, huge kind of center that is now what they call the Dream Center. And there's a number of things that there are some pieces that they do. Even I know that they do for some trafficking, some sex trafficking, and actually helping rescue people from slavery, which I know most people aren't even aware exists in the United States right now. But they're actually out there doing this, and it was really a collaboration of a number of churches that came together. And now those faith-based organizations through that building actually work with the government, where the government can no longer really support all the needs of the people. But that's kind of how it should work, right? Private citizens should come together and help the government, because the government was never there to do everything. And in fact, the government's supposed to represent the people, not care for every single person. And our, many of the faiths that we have, it's our job to care for other people. So maybe it's more about getting the people's hearts right. Well, anyways, these dream centers have been happening around the country, and apparently a group of people have been really feeling that we should be starting that in Rochester. It's not a surprise to us that it came together. But what's interesting about this is that it was not another big building. It was not what I just explained. Instead, they've been actually working on a model that was a technology. They wanted to create a technology-based model where they could connect the people with the organizations and the resources, because they had found the same thing that the Q Center that found, and the same thing that we had found, that all we really needed was the ability to start connecting people in our community to the resources that already existed. And that was their dream center that they've been working on for about 18 months here in Rochester. Now, why that's important is because one of the things that we really need to have once we have this technology solution, which we do have, to begin connecting people, and it's kind of like a relationship management type thing, like Joe needs coats. Oh, well, look at that. iBureau is currently doing something with Operation Aid where they have a number of coats ready. How many children do you have? We have 3 children. Great. Here's the thing over here to get these coats. How did you know about that, Chuck? Well, because it was on my Facebook page, but maybe it wasn't on yours. But that's all we have to do is have this categorization. Well, do you need more than a coat? Do you need clothing? Do you need food? Do you need shelter? Do you need health care? Do you need transportation? Did you ever think about how simple, transportation? How many people actually think about the importance of transportation in fighting poverty? I mean, again, we've talked a little bit about this, but could you imagine your life if you had 2 or 3 children? And let's even make it easier. Let's just say you're a single mom with 1 child. Easy enough, right? It's just 1 child. That child's maybe, 6 to 9 months old, and today you've got to go to Wegmans. All right, I mean, you don't have to go to Wegmans. Maybe you can go to Tops, or maybe you can go somewhere, right? No, but you've got to go shopping for your 6-month-old. So you go out and get in your car. No car. No car available, right? You've got to take public transportation. Not a problem. Pack up your child, right? Just pack up your child and carry it out. Thankfully, today's not one of the days that we had 3 foot of snow. There's only 9 inches on the ground. walk down the sidewalks that are completely plowed. Nope, those aren't plowed, they're plowed in. So now we have to go and we're going to wait outside until the bus comes, right? So now we're going to do that. We're going to wait till the bus comes. We're going to jump on the bus. We're going to take the bus down, probably downtown, transfer until we can get to the grocery store that we want. And we're going to take the child out. We're going to go shopping like everybody else. Everything's cool. Then we're going to go back in the same way. And then we're going to carry the baby and the groceries back through the snow back home. Now, just think about that thing right there. How many, for those of us who have cars and, the perfect family where you've got the husband and wife and 2 kids in the car and the dog in the garage and you can jump and go out to Wegmans on the corner, right? We spent, half an hour, 45 minutes? And we spent 45 minutes because we were able to have a nice cup of coffee and chat with my wife while we were there. It's a nice date, right? It's how we get away. I mean, it's easy for us. Right, we've got our child at home who's old enough to babysit something out. It's easy for us to go to the grocery stores. It's not so easy when you're in poverty. But imagine just something as simple as like an Uber. Right now, obviously people in poverty don't have the capacity to maybe pay for the Uber kind of thing. So we just have ministries. Did you know that there's many churches in Rochester that have ministries that will go and pick people up and bring them to what they need so that they can get around? Were you aware of that? Because I wasn't until we became aware of it. And I know for myself, I can't go around and pick everybody up. I've got a job to do. But there are people in Rochester already doing that. So that was what the Dream Center was. They wanted to be able to take all of these ministries that already existed, all of these programs that already existed, connect them with different businesses that are in town, do it through basically your app on your phone to get it done. Now, that's great, but we still need the connection to the people, right? How do we find out that person needs a ride? Because here's the reality. It's unlikely, there's a chance that they may have a tablet. There's a really good chance that they have a phone today that could access this system, and that's cool. But let's say they don't. We need to now be able to either provide access to the technology. We can do that through the credit unions. We can do that through the local organizations because the technology is available over the web. Or we can go visit people at their homes, enter the churches, enter the faith-based organizations who are literally willing to get out on the street, go door to door, introducing themselves, because that is what they believe they were called to do. It's a beautiful thing, and this is what the Dream Center is in Rochester, New York, that is being talked about. And the wonderful thing about this, and why we know everything's happening in the right direction, because they didn't have the technology solution, and, now they do. All right, we're going to take our break, and we will be back, and we're going to talk to Brandon Davis, who has all the solutions for poverty, or at least has a heart to try to help solve things.